Remember when you finished the Furina quest in Genshin, with her final trial making you fall in love with her? Well, say hello to Furina. Cerydra is coming to Stariel as a 5-star Harmony unit, with her design having the primary theme of a queen playing with the chess pieces, which her mechanics are basically like a chess game. You'll see what I mean later on. She does a bunch of cool stuff, and in this guide I'll be showing you the best light cones, teams, relics, and whatever else you might need. Let's go to the Cerydra guide. With all the great characters and of course the Fade collab coming to Stariel, you can barely afford to get even half of the characters you want. Luckily for you, Loot Bar is here to help you out. Loot Bar offers you 25% cheaper top-ups for both Genshin and Honkai Stariel, with a bunch of big YouTubers already using it as well, like Raiden Shogun or Makeron Z. And if you'd like an example on how much you save by using Loot Bar, here's a comparison with the Stariel shop. You can save 21 euros just by going to Loot Bar and using my link down below. And of course, let me buy something to show you. Let's get the 3280 pack for 39 euros instead of the 60 from the shop, and all I have to do is put in my UID and the server my account is in, and of course you're gonna click top up now, continue to purchase, select how you want to pay, and click pay now. After 3 to 5 minutes you will be getting your rewards, and I would like to mention that the top up bonus is also active for Loot Bar. Again, make sure to use my link down below to save an additional 10% for your first purchase, and for newcomers to Loot Bar, you will get lots more coupons to use on your first visit and purchase. We here like to take a good look at the traces beforehand to give you and get a general idea of what to focus on the character, and of course prepare for them. Let's take a look at trace 1. With every 100 attack over 2000 on Cerydra, it will increase her crit damage by 18%, with a max cap of 360% crit damage being available to obtain. Basically, you'll need 4000 attack to obtain the full 360 crit damage, and of course this doesn't necessarily need to happen outside of the battle. Mostly you just want to have 4000 attack when you enter the battle. So it doesn't matter if you have like 3900 outside. If you get in the battle and you have 4100, for example, you are going to be completely fine. You'll see how we achieve that later on. Trace 2 gives her a 100% crit rate if she is below the maximum charges. You'll see what those do in a second. And Cerydra will be gaining a charge every time the military merit unit uses their ultimate. What does the merit unit mean? You'll see again later. Lastly, for Trace 3, every time she skills, the merit unit will gain 20 speed for 3 entire turns. And if the merit unit uses a skill or basic attack, Cerydra will gain 5 whole energy, meaning high frequency units like Anaxia, for example, can give her more energy than usual if you use the merit buff on them. In summary, for the traces, you need 4000 attack in or out of the battle, you don't need to build any crit rate, and you need to factor in the 20 speed she gives to your DPS, which can actually make your DPS deal more damage, since you can sacrifice some of the normal speed that they get to put it into more attack or crit damage or whatever your DPS scales with. So if your DPS is at 134 and you remove 20 speed, you can actually convert that 20 speed into more good stats for damage, and Cerydra can give the 20 speed instead. So if you want your DPSs a little more strong, sacrifice some speed and let Cerydra do the work and provide the speed instead. Harmony units tend to have a kind of roller coaster of a kit, so I will try my best to explain this to you as simply as possible. We're going to be skipping the basic attack because her skill is quite unique and completely unheard of currently in Stariel. It gives your ally a military merit status, and she obtains a charge stack, with a cap of 8 charges in total that she can hold up. Once you obtain 6 of the charges, the merit buff will become the Peerage buff and will dispel all crowd control from that ally. Additionally, the Peerage units will also gain a 72% crit damage bonus for the skill damage they do, and will trigger a unique mechanic we've never seen before, the coup de main. It replicates the latest skill of the ally that is used, and reuses the same skill that was just used from the merit ally. And all of this, of course, does not consume a single skill point. To give you an example of what this looks like also, think of Anaxa's double E skill. It's exactly the same thing, but think of Finon destroying the entire world twice, for example. While under the merit or peerage state, they will receive another additional buff on top of the attack increase from the trace, a 10% all-type res pen, which of course goes on top of the attack increase that you gain. Lastly, for the skill, any ally with the peerage status will also be considered to have the merit status as well, because units can benefit from the talent, and this makes the talent work properly at least. Once coup domain ends, 6 charges will be consumed from Cerydra, and the peerage unit will go right back to being the merit unit. For the ultimate, thankfully it's short and simple. It provides 2 charges to Cerydra and deals damage to all of the enemies on the field. And if you haven't triggered or given the merit buff to anyone, or if they're not on field, then she will prioritize giving the unit in the first position, the slot 1, and will grant them the merit status. What I'm saying is, put your DPS on the first slot just so you can 100% gain that good buff. As for the talent, it increases the merit unit's attack by 24%, scaling with Cerydra's attack, and if the merit unit uses a basic or skill, they will be giving Cerydra 1 charge. Of course, Cerydra cannot regenerate any charges while the coup domain effect is active, and the merit buff can only exist on one single unit, meaning if you change targets, it will reset all of the charges Cerydra has, and will remove the status from its previous owner, applying it to the new one. Additionally, every attack that the merit unit does, an extra instance of additional wind damage scaling with Cerydra's attack will also be dealt, similar to Robin's or Triby's attack. This effect has 20 triggers in total, with the count resetting after you Cerydra ult, clearing the count back to 0. So preferably you do it after you deplete all of your additional attacks. And for the boring one, the technique, it gives the merit buff to the current active character, giving it to them as soon as you enter the battlefield, and this will not consume any skill points when you do this. So to give you an example, if you use your technique on Cerydra and you swap to Saber, for example, to attack, Saber will enter the battle and obtain the merit buff as soon as possible. After looking at the kit, I'm sure you have some questions on what to level up first. Okay, we're all kidding. We all know it's the skill, but you need to look at the... For the ability prio, I will 100% be recommending the skill. Most of units like Cerydra tend to have a heavy emphasis on their skill mechanic, and their mechanic of this play a big role in the kit, so you need to level the skill first. Talent is obviously the next one for obvious reasons, and last but not least, you go for the ultimate. Obviously, you need to take into account that everything should be leveled in this order and maxed out so you can get the best Cerydra possible. But again, if you just want a quick Cerydra to play with, skill, talent, and ultimate is gonna be the way. Relics. You should be prioritizing giving her a bunch of attack through the relics, so ideally not only from the substats you will be gaining, you need to get from the main stats as well. You'll look at those in a second, but to give you an example, an attack percent chest could be more viable for Cerydra instead of the usual crit damage you see. Anyways, champion is going to be pretty good due to its infinitely available attack buff from getting hit by enemies, with the only kind of downside being the duration it takes to activate it, because its full potential requires 5 hits, so every hit is going to be 5% attack, so 25% in total. But again, this will be lasting the entire fight, and it's relatively easy to get, especially if your bosses do AoE attacks. Another set you can go for is going to be the Eagle set. It gives you win percent bonus, which is pretty nice, and since we know a trace of hers gives energy through ally attacks, this might have a little more potential as a good set, because she's going to be ulting a little faster than normal. As for the better and more guaranteed options, we'd look at a 4-piece Cerdos or even a 2-piece Cerdos Messenger. 4-piece Messenger as well is okay, but to me a 4-piece Cerdos or 2-piece looks easier and better to optimize and build than going for a 4-piece full set. And also, if you have enough speed on the 2-piece, you obviously can go for a 2-piece attack, 2-piece speed, or 2-piece attacks, or whatever you want to go with. Ideally, you reach 134 speed, and then you don't play with speed anymore, unless you want to go with 160. Other than that, 2-piece looks to be the easier and better optimal build, rather than going for a full 4-piece set. As for the planners, pretty predictable options, but here's a reference for them. Space Sealing Station gives you a bunch of attack, which is really good. Broken Keel is obviously a good option for any supporting unit because they give 10% crit damage. And lastly, of course, you can technically use Von Whack to get a first turn on her, but in my opinion, if you're using the technique, for example, this should not be that much of an issue. I believe you will gain the turn anyway. Pretty viable though, it's not the worst option, but I think Space Sealing Station or Broken Keel can work a little better here. I'm sure you are most curious for this one, and honestly, I can definitely say it's going to be a very good day when Cerydra releases, and especially for those who are going to pull for her. As I've seen from the leaks, a new event light cone that is specifically made for Cerydra is going to come along her release. Before that though, let's take a look at the signature light cone, Epoch Etched in Golden Blood. It increases her attack by 64%, which is absolutely massive for a light cone, and after using the ultimate, you recover 1 skill point for the entire team to use. Also, when she uses her skill on any ally, it will increase the skill damage dealt by the ally by 54% for 3 entire turns. This is an insane light cone, and I'm sure you can see what kind of units will need this. We'll talk about that in the team section as well, but if you pull this light cone and you don't have Herda, you need to get Herda. Herda is by far one of the best units to use with this light cone, as well as Archer, Finon, and Aksha, and you'll see way more in the team section. What I'm saying is, this will make Herda an absolute demon if you actually get the light cone and Cerydra herself. For the possible event light cone, I'm pretty confident for this one. It is completely tailored to her, the Forever Victual it's called. It gives her 32% attack, and after you skill, she will gain another 16%, stacking up to 48, meaning 3 stacks in total. This is a solid and perfect light cone to use for her because you need a total of 4,000 attack just to max herself out. So this almost 80% attack increase will be incredibly massive and completely helpful in your entire kit, so you can focus on other stats other than attack. So this whole 80% attack you gain from this light cone will be perfect because you can actually focus more on other stats, giving you more breathing room to get better stats for Cerydra. For alternative options, you ever feel like you had a good option in life and then you looked at it and you weren't exactly happy with what you got? Well, this is what the section is going to be about. Dance 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 can be pretty decent, since ulting now will make the entire team stronger by pulling them up in the action bar, and this will be relatively easier with the other trace that gives you energy. Dreamville Adventure is actually going to be pretty useful, since every time she skills, this will increase the skill damage as well, with the light cone at S5 giving you an additional 20% increase on the skill, effectively giving you 72% crit damage and 20% damage bonus for the skill damage alone. If you are looking for more energy and a 4-star light cone worth of stats, Memories of the Past is going to be exactly what you need, as well as Meshing Cogs. This one is the 3-star version of Memories of the Past, but it can work just as good since you are looking primarily for the energy. And for the last light cones, we have Tomorrow's Journey for the 50 almost attack percent it gives, and then we have Bronya's 5-star light cone for the attack stats it provides, being the highest since it is a 5-star, and the energy regen is also pretty good. If you do happen to have a premium light cone lying around, like Robin's for example, this one can benefit her the most, and it would be a good replacement for the signature in case you spend your money on an idol instead of a literal queen. For teams and teammates, we have pretty much the same people going around Cerydra. Basically, any unit that has their skill as their primary source of damage, or it plays a big part in them doing damage. Units like Thurda, Anaksha, Finon, and Archer are obviously included at the top tier of this, as well as Jingliu, Qingque, Castoris, Saber, and even Dunhung IL. Man made a fantastic return back, since their damage doesn't only come from the ultimate, it also comes heavily off of their skill. Obviously, Saber, for example, her main damage is the ultimate, but before you ult, you kind of use 2, 3, 4 times of her skill before any of that happens, so this will actually add up in the long run. As for a more general approach, any attack percent scaling unit will also like Cerydra a bunch due to her trace buffing any ally with the merit buff, giving them some extra attack on top of the skill damage increase. I'm sure you're looking for some team examples so you can have a much better idea of what you should be doing. Here is 4 of the teams I made: Cerydra, Anaxia, any sustain you like here, and Cerydra. To me, this team makes absolute sense. Cerydra will be buffing Cerydra, for example, or Anaxia, whoever you want to buff, whoever does the most damage, probably Cerydra. To me, this is one of the teams that make a bunch of sense. Here for a sustain, I would pick Gallagher or Locha as usual, because you will be needing to skill with Cerydra, skill with Cerydra, skill with Anaxia, so you need somebody to help with this problem. If you are looking for a more Anaxia-focused team, Anaxia, Cerydra, Sparkle, Sunday, Bronya, and any sustain you like here will do the job, because you are basically using Sunday, Bronya, or Sparkle to get Anaxia up, so he can use his E twice, and then with Cerydra, this can go up to 3 and 4 times, so you will actually have way too many skills going on. And of course, if you use Sunday or Sparkle, this will actually help you a little more with your skill points, but you can go completely overkill and use Gallagher or Locha again. The third team is going to be Archer, Sparkle, Gallagher or Locha, and Cerydra as your last slot. Archer does tend to use way too many skill points here and uses his skill as his primary damage, so you have Sparkle to buff and give him a lot more skill points, with Gallagher saving you a bunch of skill points, and Cerydra activating Archer's attack one more time. Of course, if Archer attacks 4 to 5 times, that is 4 to 5 times 5 for the energy of Cerydra, so you will be ulting a lot more frequently if you have Archer and his max skill points. And here for the last team, we have Finon, Cerydra, Gallagher, Locha, and Sunday. This team, in my opinion, makes the absolute most sense. Finon is a skill damage heavy character, and Cerydra was basically made for him due to them being in the same region and being kind of the just as powerful people. In my opinion, this team kind of was made for Finon. Like, Sunday and Cerydra are basically the perfect units for Finon, and then in the middle you have somebody to save skill points for, like Gallagher and Locha. But of course, if you want to give Finon an extra core flame, you can actually put Lynx in there and target him so he gets attacked more by the enemies as well. Anyways, let's move on to the Idolons now. For Idolons, as per usual on this channel, I will not go too much into detail. I'll just give you an explanation of what they do and where it is best to stop. For her E1, it's actually quite the overpowered E1, which almost makes me want to say it's the perfect stopping point, but we have E2, which is also pretty good. Anyways, E1 gives you 16% defense ignore to the merit unit, and this 16% goes to 20% when they are in the Peerage state. Additionally, when Cerydra skills on any ally, 2 energy will be restored to the ally she targeted. Obviously, you can see that this energy is not very much, but it could turn the tide in certain game modes. And of course, the defense ignore goes up, especially when it matters, when the ally will be doing the most damage possible. Quite the solid E1. This is like Sunday E1, for example. For E2, it gives her a 40% damage boost to the merit unit, and if any unit with the buff is active on the field, Cerydra will gain an increased... Cerydra's crit damage will increase by a full 160%. I'm trying to give you how much crit damage that is. You have 160 from E2 here, and then another 360 from the traces, plus the 50% of the base stats. So this girl is effectively walking with 500 crit damage base at E2 because she's just like better. Her E4 increases the ultimate damage multiplier by 240%, effectively doubling it to 480%. And the big and final E6, it gives you a 20% all-type res pen on the merit unit, and the multiplier of the additional attack from them will be increased by 300%. Also, if you have any merit unit on the field, so if anyone has the status on them, Cerydra will also be gaining that 20% resistance pen, meaning you need to keep someone with the merit buff on field 100% of the time for Cerydra to do just a little more damage, but I promise this this actually does add up because Cerydra is kind of a damaging unit somehow, some way. She doesn't do the most damage, it's not like a Tribby, but again, Tribby's like ultimate hits do kind of stack up because they go from like 3, 5, 7k all the time. This will actually completely stack up to you, and this will give you a much easier time in the long run. My opinion here is going to be that E6 is not as worth it as you think. It is pretty good, it is amazing, but only if you have enough money to spend on it. I would not be pulling for this character alone and maxing her to this point. E2 I would say is the best one to stop at, with E1 actually giving you insanely good buffs, which kind of make E1 almost not needed, but I'd say they are pretty good, and it helps with the saturated buffs that the merit person gets. I don't really have much to say for the outro, I've kind of run out of ideas anyway. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on my latest videos or guides, and I'll see you in the next video. Go watch the Saber video, please!